Welcome back to the Wedding Capture Code podcast, and this is our last episode of the year. So we're going to be talking all things. We're going to be talking all things this year, like rounding up the year essentially. So we're going to be talking about some of the positives that we've taken from the year, some of the negatives too, just so that we can learn and apply them to next year. All the bits in between that we'll be going off in little tangents. But yeah, our last episode of the year. Thanks for listening to these 19 episodes. We really appreciate it, and enjoy.
So here we are, our final episode of 2023.
Yes, we've almost been doing this a year now, I think.
It has. I was trying to work out at the start. I was like, how soon did we start? Because technically, if we've released every other week, if we've been doing it for a full year, we'd be on episode 26. Is that right?
Would we? Yeah,
that's half a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously, again, there's been a couple of episodes where we've been 3 weeks apart, and we didn't start in like the very first week of January. So it's always going to be a little bit different. And yes, the tree is up, Christmas jumper's out. My phone is ringing. That's my mum.
There's always something.
My mum's not going to be a guest. I'll speak to her afterwards. That's fine.
Get her on loudspeaker first.
Could you imagine? I love my mum's species. She is the best person in the world, but I'm not sure she knows what a podcast is. We'll leave her there, and I'll catch up with her afterwards. So yeah, episode 19 and our last episode of the year.
Yeah, I feel like at this time of year, it's exhaustion season. Like we were literally talking before we started recording. Like I feel like we're just at the point where we're like, right, I'm glad that's kind of behind us now. Even though like obviously we're lucky to do what we do and we enjoy what we do. Even chatting, like we had the wedding collective
Christmas party
on Tuesday.
A couple of nights ago, yeah.
Literally 2 nights ago, and I was just saying that I spoke to lots of photographers and videographers, and everyone was just kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of just done. Like it was good, but that's it. Let's move on to next year.
Yeah, we were saying this off of the camera we started. Is the last couple of years where have been those post-COVID years where we've all done bigger numbers than we've done this year.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like that guy at the end of the marathon, at the end of the year, like running through the tape. Do you know what I mean? With people clapping and like, you've done it. You've made it through this year. And this year, I feel like the guy that's like had his legs chopped off halfway through and just crawled over the line barely and slumped to a death the other side. Like I've made it, but I've made it as an absolute like a wet fart of a fanfare at the end and an absolutely broken person at the end.
Because in 2021,
there's no jubilation of like success.
Well done, yeah. In 2021, like we were all catching, and to an extent, 2022, you're all doing like reschedules and catching up, and like it was literally like you felt like, yes, I've got my job back, let's go, full 100%. And then like this year is supposed to be like, oh, it's back to normal, but it's been like you're at the end of like that marathon of absolute craziness.
No, I think some of it is, I'm putting mine down to almost delayed exhaustion of, you've had that elation of finishing those 2 big years last year. But I don't feel that because of the way the edits, I didn't really have that much of a gap at the start of the year. Like end of last year rolled straight into the beginning of this year.
Oh yeah.
And it still just felt like one big long 3-year sort of sprint, if you like. And so it's, I'm justifying it that I'm entitled to be exhausted. Despite only getting back from holiday less than a week ago, I'm still entitled to be exhausted.
That's the problem with the editing situation, isn't it? Like you end up doing Christmas.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I really struggle to like enjoy the festive period because that's normally the time where I've got the most like backlog.
Yeah.
And my brain, I don't know whether this is the same with other people or not, but there's always a low level anxiety of, I've got edits to do. Yeah. Like you're out with friends, you're at a party, you're doing it, but you're always thinking, oh, tomorrow I've got edits. I've got to make sure, like, you know,
I can't have too many drinks tonight. Back at my desk first thing in the morning.
And it's always that, and it's always on my mind. I feel like I can never really, like, I feel most of myself between sort of February and March when all the edits are done. There's a whole year ahead of me, and like that's when I feel like most sort of like present, I guess.
Yeah. Well, free, I think, is it? I feel like that. Like I mean, we spoke about this at the collective parties. Like I haven't been edit pile free since February, I think.
Yeah.
And it's almost at the back of your mind that it's there. And I do feel that once that edit pile doesn't exist anymore, it's lifted. Probably only for a few weeks. Yeah. You do kind of feel like, okay, now I can kind of regroup, ready to start again.
Yeah, you feel like you can't do things for yourself because you've got the edit pile. I think that, like you say, freedom and just time to think without thinking that you've got something else going on, because it's quite unhealthy. Like, I mean, it is our job, and you have to sort of change your mindset and be like, I'm always going to have a backlog, and that is just life, basically.
It is, yeah.
That is just a life that we
live.
I'm
sure there are other jobs which are far more sort of rinse and repeat and always evolving than ours are.
Like Kate always says to me, it's not the fact you got a backlog is literally your job. You just got to change your mindset towards it. Like, don't worry about when you're doing something for yourself. like if I'm playing Xbox or something, I'm thinking, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be editing.
Yeah.
Even if it's like middle of the evening or something. And Kate will be like, well, no, you have to change your mindset. Like you work, that's a job. The job is different.
Yeah, you've done your work for the day.
Yeah.
And now you do need that time to regroup. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the energy or the mental capacity to go back and do that edit.
Yeah.
But I think it's when you're looking, and we've done it at the start of this episode. Go, oh, it's the end of the year. Like, and everyone's like, I'm sure your Spotify Wrapped come in. And everyone's kind of doing their best of lists and ends of this and that, and we're going to go into some of that even now.
Yeah.
It's almost like we do use the end of a calendar year as kind of a time to reflect and wrap up, and you almost feel that you want to wind things down.
That's a good thing, I think.
Which is healthy, but when you know that those edits are going to linger across, like you almost want them to be tidied up now, so that you can go into this kind of new year, new me, new start type thing. But how do you do that when you've still got a pile of editing from last year's weddings hanging over you, and there's probably still a part of you deep down in your brain going, oh, I'd really love those couples to have their films for Christmas. They're going to see family and stuff, and
I never really feel like
it's hard not to feel guilty about that, isn't it? Like,
because you know that they're hoping that it comes before Christmas. You know that they're seeing their family.
The gift of their film for Christmas.
At the end of the day, like I don't promise that for the couples later on in the year. I don't promise that I'll see things before Christmas, and I'm quite honest and be like, look, because of the time of year it is, it normally happens. Like you normally get it straight up. January and February are probably the most sort of like productive editing times because there's no weddings happening, at least in my life. So. But in the same way, I never really feel like I'm in that. The new year happens, 1st of January hits. For me, the 1st of January doesn't hit until like mid-February when all those edits are done. Because until then, I'm thinking of last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, your head's still in 2023 wedding season.
That happened so much this year. I got to like February, finished my edits, and I was like, well, Happy New Year to me. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I found myself just like, oh, I'm going to write down all my goals for this year because I have like a little book that I write all my goals for the year in and stuff, and
I feel that I've kind of shafted myself, is not the right word, but I've got 2 weddings in January this year, and I shoot my last wedding of 2024 on the 23rd of December. So I've got at least 1 wedding in every month of next year, which in terms of kind of like financial forecast or level of, like spread out of work,
it's good.
Should be great rather than having 20 weddings in June and then nothing for the rest of the year. But already I can start to see that I know, again, I'm going to be in that same situation next year. I'm not going to get that rest period. Although it's going to be quieter at the start of the year. Maybe like February I have like 1 wedding, March I have like 1 or 2.
It's still different thinking, like,
but it's I almost feel like I want a period of 2 or 3 months to have, and it's not to have nothing to do, but have nothing to shoot, so that you've got time to just do those other parts of your business. And I know we did a whole episode on marketing and saying about how you should be doing those things. But I feel that I find it really hard in my brain to separate I can't go through and look through all my weddings to pick out new portfolio images all the time that I know there's stuff which I'll probably want to use sat on my editing pile. I want to edit everything first
100%.
And then look through it. Like, how can you make a best of when you've still got portions of stuff unedited?
Yeah. I see people posting, like, specifically photographers posting all of their like best of the year stuff in January, and I'm like, I can't do that because I haven't got time and things. You can do it in March or whatever. But so it's a good time to look back and see sort of what you've done throughout the year and things like that. I just feel like mentally, like, for me, I do all that stuff in February normally, like create sort of the show reel for the year before, and like look back and see if I can make any reels out of things. Like that generally happens a bit later in the year. So
also, I want to say as well, this whole episode is not going to be entirely just negative. I feel like we've started out with like a real negative thing, but at the same time, hopefully, we're not the only people that are feeling this way. I know from conversations that we've had with other people that in our circles, they're feeling similarly. So I'd like to think that the people that do listen to this and you guys out there are hopefully feeling maybe a little bit like we do too. But then,
because of the conversations we've had from the party, I just wanted to mention that, like, if you are feeling like, oh yeah, it's just like, I think you're expected to be like, oh, I'm self-employed, I do wedding video. It's been an incredible year of filming so many amazing weddings, and like, I think most people that I've spoken to have just been like, it's been a year. It's been fun. It's been just. And
I think it has. It has. It's been all those things. I feel like in some ways I've shot some of my most incredible weddings of the year. I've had some of my best experiences that I've ever had doing this job in this year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've never felt more ready for a period of rest ever.
Yeah.
But then again, it's tinged with that guilt of, well, this year I've done. I thought by the time I finish, I've got my last wedding next week. I would have done 35 weddings this year. where I did 44 last year and 50 something in 2021.
Yeah.
So I'm not just a couple of weddings short, even like I'm 10 weddings less than last year and almost 20 less than 2021.
Yeah.
But I still feel more mentally exhausted and just ready for a kind of a period of reflection, regroup, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you were saying it's because of the last few years, not necessarily just this year. But like it's not all negative. It's just I wanted to start it with basically just saying like there's not like it's not like a big end of year like you have to feel amazing about the year sort of thing, and like
it's perfectly okay to be feeling like this if you are feeling the same way that we are.
Anyway, so you've been on holiday though.
I have.
So are you feeling refreshed?
Yes, and I think some of that's added to the feeling. I only came back from holiday last Saturday, so what's that, about 5 days ago obviously, and came back to sorting out the last little bits for the collective party, which happened a couple of nights ago and was a huge success. Holiday was great. I've never been on a holiday where I've done so little ever. Like I've always said, I'm not a sit round person.
You're forced to relax.
And I went on a cruise for 2 weeks around the Caribbean. So we flew to Barbados, cruised around for 2 weeks to hit various islands, and then flew back from Barbados 2 weeks later. I've never napped, like sat on a sun lounger like on the side of a boat and just slept in the day. And also I've had days like where oddly I've just felt really, really emotional for absolutely no reason. And I do wonder if I've just been that constantly going all the time.
Yeah.
That even some of the other breaks that I've had this year, like I went away in October, but that was a fairly non-stop, like all action thing. When I went to Malta, that was obviously for a wedding, so I was working all the time. I never really sort of let myself fully wind down.
Yeah.
And I think being away and having the first 8 or 9 days of the trip, I didn't really look at my phone at all. Like I didn't pay for Wi-Fi on board, so apart from grabbing sort of like little 10-minute windows when you were in ports to more or less, to make sure, like phone home to make sure that like everything was okay, and keep it, speak to the dog sitter to make sure Max was all right. I didn't really dive into my emails. I didn't really look at social media, and I felt like I really allowed myself to fully relax for the first time.
Yeah, that's so healthy that as well, isn't it? Like,
I didn't realise how healthy it probably was.
Yeah.
Until I'd done it, like I'd been, I'm all right. I'm on holiday. I'm having rest. But like to properly just go, I've just lost 3 hours. Yeah. I fall asleep in the middle of the day, or
you don't realise how into something you are until you step out of it, and then you realise, that's all I've been thinking about for the last few
it was
months.
really, really weird because we went to on the boat. We went to the spa and we had a massage, and they gave you like a piece of like a questionnaire to fill out before you start.
Yeah.
And so it tells you, how old do you smoke and this and that. And then there was a piece on the back talking about to try and find out where tension is in you. And it was like, on an average night, how many hours do you sleep? And I was like, 5, 6 hours. And then it was like, in your occupation, on a 1 to 10 level, how stressed do you think you are on an average day? And I was like, shit. Like, no one's ever asked me that before.
No.
And I was like, do you know what? There's times this year where I could probably easily have said 8, 9.
Yeah.
And there's probably most days that I couldn't answer you and it'd be below 5 or 6.
I was about to say, I'd say we
Like
pretty much live at a 5 or above.
To ever.
Yeah.
And that really kind of hit me.
It's pretty intense, isn't it?
There's not just someone asks you like, "Are you okay?" Do you know?
Your average levels of stress are over 50%.
Live like that for most of the year as well, and I'd probably get by on 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, which is not terrible. There's people that get by on far less, but when you probably should be hitting like 8, 9, whatever, and you think, well, no wonder I'm damn tired. Like no wonder, like now I've come away from this, that I'm feeling this way.
I think you've got the natural energy that I've never seen you looking anything other than like on point all the time.
But you can only live like that for so long, can't you? Or maybe when I was younger, it was easier to do. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm far from dead.
It wears you down.
I'm not as, when you're into this as long as you have been in it. And I think the main thing is like we've starting the podcast, charging more money, holding yourself to a higher standard. You kind of feel that you've got more people looking at you, or you put that pressure on yourself to perform at the way that you're doing more. I think you feel that burden of responsibility or pressure. I've felt that this year more than ever.
It's that low level anxiety we were talking about earlier. That is the 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
That is the, I'm okay today, but I've got all this editing to do, and I've got a wedding on Saturday, and I've got to prepare for that, and I've got to also sort out my blog, and it's then that's 5 out of 10 is always it's a constant hum.
I saw like a meme when I got home, and it was on Instagram, and it said, and it was something along the lines of, there's this like infamous saying that happens among self-employed people, but essentially you say the same saying to yourself every day until you stop. And it's, if I can just get through this week, next week will be better.
Yeah.
And I feel like literally, I've never felt more seen in my entire life. I was like, the amount of times that I go, well, I've got this on Wednesday, that on Thursday, I got Wednesday, Tuesday, Saturday, this and that. But
next week will be all right.
Next week will be all right. And then come Tuesday again, I'm like, I've got this to go, I've got that to do.
I never thought about that, but I do think that,
That's mad. I was like, that's me. I was like, that is literally me. And so I think with all that said, like, again, I don't want to be a downer. This year has been amazing. There's been some really good stuff in there, which we will get into.
No, it's not downer. It's saying that holidays are good.
It's holding over. I think as much as holiday was lovely for the rest, it's probably allowed me or forced me to take a far deeper look at myself than I probably wanted to.
I've been thinking a lot about this actually recently, because I've been on a couple of holidays this year and they've been very different ones. Like Vegas, I came home from I spent Vegas with friends, so Kate wasn't there, and obviously I'm used to going on holiday with Kate, so we live together, we work business together, then we go on holiday together. Sometimes we'll talk about work while we're out and about and stuff.
But when you both work in that business, it's hard not to, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There are little things made here and there. I think going on holiday with friends made me rethink a little bit as well, because none of them are thinking about their workplaces. None of them have got like that stress of, I should be doing this, that or the other. And so it was such a raw and unique experience that obviously like the place was lovely and everything I've already spoken about on the pod. But I think coming home, it made me realise what was actually important, what I actually should be stressing about. Do you know what I mean? It's like, actually, just spending time with people is so much more valuable than why am I worrying about this edit?
And the things that you feel like, me and Rose said this quite a lot. Like on the days that we were at sea, you could wander around and you look out and there's nothing. Yeah. Like you're on a pretty damn big boat. You know, we were on a boat that had 5,500 guests plus just over 2,000 staff. And we're in, and you look out and there's just nothing. Yeah. And like we both said, like I've never felt smaller or more insignificant than the terms of like the Earth or the planet ever. And it's like say that I must make sure I get to this email or do that. And the things that you lose sleep over or really endlessly worry about, when you look at them in the grand scheme of like everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you can't do that until you deliberately take you can't just like go into your living room and watch TV and pretend that it's okay. You have to take yourself away, and like it doesn't have to be bloody a cruise or Vegas or whatever, but just even just like we went to Devon last weekend, and it's my stepmom's birthday, and we went to Devon, and we went up there on Saturday morning and was like, what we got planned? And they were like, nothing. And it was literally like one of those like cabins with the hot tub outside and stuff. And like, we're literally going to sit inside and do nothing all day. And me and Kate were like, all right, okay. So we did that. And genuinely on Monday, I felt so relaxed, like the best I'd felt in ages. Obviously, it's only one day, right? So it only lasted one day. On Tuesday, I felt shit again. But if you'd have asked me to go on a holiday like that, away, I'd have gone, not a chance. You won't get me to do something like that. I don't do nothing. It's not in my nature. It's not but because we had like port days and then sea days in between, you couldn't go anywhere on the sea days. So you were almost forced into that relaxation. And it's like you don't realise how needed it is. It does reset your brain.
Yeah. Almost to go somewhere or allowing yourself to go, no, I am allowed to do nothing. Yeah. Like, that's okay.
But yeah, we went to Brussels while you were away as well, which is quite nice. Little Christmas market holiday. It's one of those things that's been on the list, like on the bucket list for a while, and then it just happened to end up doing it with friends, like completely unplanned. And then, like, I think it's planned like maybe last month or something, but it's pretty cool.
Don't you think, though?
Yeah.
I enjoy a spontaneous holiday. Like, it was especially it's nice to have a countdown and something to look forward to.
Yeah, but it was just like, let's go to Winter Wonderland in London, and before you know it, we were in Brussels.
Winter Wonderland, Brussels.
Yeah. It was freezing cold, but it was lovely to get that again, like a full-on experience. It wasn't just a day out in Winter Wonderland; it was like a full weekend with friends, taking yourself completely out. Like nobody there cares about weddings and all of the business. Like everyone there's, it was just pure enjoyment of ourselves. And I think and even like I didn't really take many photos. I took my Fuji, which I wanted to talk about as well. I didn't take many photos of it. I actually carried Kate's phone around and took a lot of my photos.
She bought the new 15.
She bought the 15 Pro, and I've also recently bought DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which is very quickly becoming my favourite camera for like a lot of video things on holiday, and also selfies, really good selfies. But yeah, mainly I had Kate's phone with me like the whole time I was taking photos, and by the end of it I was like, I've taken about 4 photos on the Fuji. So I got it and put on eBay again. Second time.
So this is the second time you sold it?
Second time I've sold it.
Do you reckon you'll buy one back again next year?
No, I think I think we're close enough to a new one coming out that I definitely won't buy that one again. But also, I think the reason I'm not using it is because it's not as versatile as I would like as well. Like, I think if you're trying to be a photographer and limit yourself to certain or be a bit more creative, having that 35mm lens on there is good for like, you have to force yourself to be creative and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you're on holiday, you
don't
I want to be the
force
least
yourself
creative I can possibly be and still get the best shots, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to pick up and be like, oh, I've got 35mm. I really wanted to get the wide shot of this thing. I end up picking up my iPhone anyway.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot on holiday where got the Fuji out, looked, and I was like, 35 is not wide enough. And then got my phone out, and like people look at me like, what? You got a camera there? Like, what's going on? And I was like, sometimes I just get the phone out, and then I realised I got back and edited some of Kate's photos on the iPhone. I just realised like I just don't need it anymore. And like it has a mode now where you can default it to 35mm.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about this.
So you can change whatever because it's 20. Is it 28 the standard?
It's 24, and you can change its default to 28 or 35, and you can set it so it stays at that every time you bring out the camera. It stays at that, and it's not. It's technically a digital zoom, but it's still the same amount of megapixels because it's a 48 megapixel sensor, but it's downscaling to 24 anyway. So even if you're shooting at 35mm, it's still doing it in 24. Yeah. So it looks exactly the same. It's got the portrait mode built into the main photos now.
Yes, you can almost like toggle it on and off, can't you? But before you had to make a conscious effort to like the portrait mode
to go into it, and the portrait mode never had the same processing that the normal photos had, so it would turn out like the detail would turn out a lot worse.
Yeah.
Whereas now the portrait mode is built into the main photo and has the same processing, so it looks as good as a proper photo would. So we were literally taking photos of each other, and then I'd literally go into the thing and change it to a portrait and be like, that's cracking, 35mm, looks good. Yeah. There's a little bit of blur, but not too much to it. Like,
or if something less to carry, something as small as a phone.
Yeah. So I just thought, you know what, I'll get rid of it for now. I'd see myself one day buying like at some point next year buying another camera for personal use, but I don't think it'll be an X100.
I think it depends where you are and what you're doing as well. Like similarly, obviously, when I took my Leica with me. But most of the days that we were just going to the beach, I didn't take it because I didn't want to get it filled with sand.
Yeah.
I saw some cool like vistas and landscapes and stuff, but again, the 35 would have been too like zoomed in for them. And again, so a lot of time all the stuff for the beach was on the GoPro and my phone took. Yeah. But a lot of time it's just selfies. Oh, here's me holding a beer.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are the best ones from.
I don't need the Leica for that. I did take it. I took a few photos with it in certain places where it kind of was more appropriate to take it.
Yeah.
And I did really enjoy it. I think I wouldn't say now, if you'd asked me now, I've owned it for 6 months, I would just say it's an everyday camera or a walk around camera. It's not a holiday camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm sure if I could happily go to London for the day and take
a good way of talking about
work with it, or for certain bits of my work that I just want to go and take a picture of something in the house or of me or of whatever. I love using that camera, and it has changed the way that I do think about photography, or you can be more arty with it and stuff.
Yeah.
But because it's still not my work camera.
Yeah.
But for say going on holiday or a trip,
it's not a holiday camera.
A quick day out.
Yeah.
Your phone serves that purpose of a nice selfie, and
because all you need is a nice looking photo and some form of versatility. That's what you need from a holiday camera, right? Unless you're going out there to specifically take some nice photos, you're going to need to get your camera out, like make sure you're framing well, make sure that 35mm is treating you well.
And especially on holiday, like if you went with friends, right? You say to them, "Oh, can you take a nice picture of me and Kate by the Christmas tree?" If you handed them the Fuji, like
that's the thing. I know.
It's like trying to we give people teach a monkey to drive a helicopter, isn't it?
We take the Fuji.
If you give someone an iPhone, they know how to use it.
They know how to use it straight away. Yeah. We've given people. We'll take the Fuji along to holiday, and then we'll get people to take photos of us. But like, we'll give them the iPhone because we're like, there's no way I'm giving them the Fuji, basically.
Because they want to.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like how kind of like. We've had several conversations, if you are a long time listener of the pod, about holiday cameras, non-work cameras and stuff along the way, and I kind of feel that we've gone full circle and made peace with all of them over the course of the year.
Yeah, I know our friend Josh uses A7C, the Sony A7C, with a little lens on it, and I think that's probably where I'll go, somewhere that I can probably use as a semi-professional camera, but also if I take it with me. So it's not just like, because it is that the Fuji was gathering dust until I went on holiday.
Yeah.
Then I took it on holiday, took 5 photos, went home, and I can't really afford to have something that's worth that much just sat in my house.
Like if you had the C, that would be a perfect. It wouldn't be out of place in your kit bag as a backup camera. Like if you brought a camera a day, you could put it to work. But it still feels very different to take that on holiday with a very small pancake lens on the front.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, ditched the Fuji. I upgraded my iPhone, so I'm not carrying cases around. And it's a small upgrade, don't get me wrong, but like I feel like obviously we're going to Disney in Florida next month, and I feel like it's going to be just perfect for that, really. Like
the phone and the Osmo Pocket as well. For being on rides and wandering around and stuff like that. You get some really good fun stuff.
I feel that's just a combo. That's it, sorted. Yeah, I don't really need anything else, and it gets rid of that anxiety of when I'm away. I'm thinking, I should really be taking more photos. If I've got my phone on me, just and then put it back in my pocket and not have to worry about framing.
I think that's it. And we've spoken about this loads of times. It's like I don't want to go on holiday to create content to edit. Like a lot of times, it's just when people come back, let's have a look where you've been. Show them. I don't feel like I'm there to make content. Like I'm not going on holiday to content create for all the reasons we've just said. Like you're there to relax, but at the same time, there's something in you that wants to kind of document some of these nice places you've been, so you've got it for posterity. But you don't need that to any level of sort of professional competence that we.
You don't at all. But in the same, if you wanted to, like I took loads of photos in RAW on my iPhone in Dubai and edited them, and I was like so impressed with my little preset that I edit the Fuji photos with. I was like, man, this is sick. Like the RAWs on the iPhone is so good. So I'm going back on myself with holiday cameras. I think that there's a difference between a carry around camera and a holiday camera in there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's fun how things are conveniently, like you might know, I bought this to go on holiday with, this little iPad mini.
Yeah.
And I haven't had an iPad for about 5, 6, maybe more years. I had the very first iPad when it came out.
Yeah.
And then I had one after that, which I used to use just for odd bits. And I found myself, again, I'm going to put my portfolio when I take it to meetings, I'll do this and that. And I found that I never used it.
Yeah.
So again, there was nothing that I felt like I couldn't do with it. Without that I couldn't do on my phone.
Yeah.
So I never looked at getting one, but then knowing that we were going away, knowing we were going to be cut off, I wanted something that I could download some movies to watch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like again with the Florida trip coming up, we'll have Wi-Fi then. So I know I definitely don't want to be tempted to take my laptop away with me because the options to doing other work is too tempting. But I still find it really difficult to reply to emails and stuff like that from my phone.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want something in the middle that I can use for kind of doing all of that stuff. It's a little bit of a bigger screen to watch like Netflix on if I'm on the plane or whatever, or lounge around with the pool. I can do this and do that. And so I bought the iPad mini in the end. So and I was actually quite impressed with how it's not actually that big, but it still feels really light, but it still feels like a different step up from my phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel too small to watch movies on or watch YouTube on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, doing the notes for this, it means I can fit all of our show notes on one screen. So I'm not scrolling through my phone.
Just like going up and down.
The fact that it's got the pencil is really handy.
Yeah.
Because I do someone that do sorts of like sketch and journal stuff, so I've got that. That feels more intuitive than always using a mouse all the time.
Yeah.
There is an option that I could cull or do some base edits on it if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to.
No.
At the moment, just kind of use it.
If you want to post it on Instagram, you could probably put it into Lightroom on your iPad and just mess around with the colours a little bit.
Yeah, because I've got the Visco app and like that's on here as well, so I could do like kind of basic kind of again tweaks to phone photos and stuff. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this as like a little sort of halfway house, or that idea of spending less time at my desk. Or if I wanted to go work from a coffee shop to just do admin, I could easily take this without lugging my laptop with me.
And the keyboard on that, it's actually, you can sort of hold it like a phone and use your two thumbs.
I could almost text on this like a big phone really, but it would still feel that I've got a much better sort of degree of clarity of what I'm writing rather than
because you can see the whole thing and you can see the email chain and stuff like that. Yeah, I got an iPad Pro the smaller one, so I think it might be 10-inch from like years ago. And like I bought it with the intention of doing all the productive things on it, but I think it's so close to like having a laptop because it's 10-inch and like by the time you add the keyboard to it and everything, that like I've literally used it for Netflix and like YouTube and stuff like that on the plane. And don't get me wrong, it's been incredible having an iPad for like watching stuff on the plane and stuff, especially going on don't mean to brag, but like a lot of holidays and like a lot of long flights and stuff. It's been really good, but I do feel like I've been looking at the Mini quite a lot because like it is like that step up from a phone between a phone and a laptop. Kate uses her iPad for going through like and researching things and stuff like that, and I can't get my head around that. I just get my if I'm
I
researching,
find the same. That use like internet browsing.
Yeah,
I can't do that on
like
here.
Those are tabs open, and
the tabs the way that Safari works or Chrome or whatever on here. I don't feel as intuitive having them all lined up like you do on a laptop. But yeah, for just kind of basic things or app-based stuff, it's nice to have it kind of bigger than it being on my phone.
Yeah.
Or not feel that I'm glued to my phone all the time as well.
Yeah.
Like I haven't taken like my messages across to this.
It's much more distractions.
Or again, my push notifications are off, so if I choose to check my email, it will come up. But whilst you're doing something, you're not getting like WhatsApp dinging at the top and stuff like that. So it's allowing me to kind of be a little bit more present with it. But also kind of, a nice halfway house.
Yeah, that's cool. A little bit of tech talk for the year.
Yeah, that's it. It wouldn't be a wedding capture code if there wasn't a little bit of tech talk in it somewhere. But also, I think maybe kind of we should whistle through some of the points on here. I think we've done quite a lot of the kind of how we're feeling coming out of the year.
Yeah.
But to kind of flip on that, there have been a lot of positives this year, so I kind of feel that we should touch on some of those and kind of raise up a little bit and make out that even though we're feeling this way, a lot of it's tiredness because of all the amazing things.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the reason that I've brought up what I've brought up is mainly is a combination of things, which like the rain has been pretty bad. Like 20, I think we've done 34 weddings and 20 of them have rained for the majority of the day, which is pretty bad luck. And
at a time it feels like we haven't had a summer.
No, yeah, exactly, and that obviously gets you down. So you feel like this at the end of the year. Then there's like what we were talking about before we started recording,
right before we hit record,
which is lack of responses from couples. Like it is a year of, I think a lot of people are feeling this way, are being ghosted. Like you just
in inquiries and in actual couples.
Yeah,
like I always used to feel that if my inquiry form, whether I replied to someone saying sorry I'm not available, they'd always come back and go no worries if you've got any recommendations, or if you were free, you'd always get something back. But the amount of times that people just play in the field and just go, oh yeah, I'm free. Oh, would you want to chat? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then on the same time, with couples that I've shot as well,
I haven't had that so much of inquiries.
You kind of feel like you get waved at and hugged and, oh, you've been amazing. Thank you so much when you leave their wedding.
Yeah.
I deliver the sneak peeks the next morning. Nothing.
Yeah.
Deliver the gallery 6 weeks later. Nothing.
I'll say just under half of our couples haven't responded this year after the wedding, and it's like you can tell they've watched it.
And I can see from their online gallery that they've logged in and they're doing stuff, or even seen that they've been sharing stuff on their socials. And sometimes people have tagged me in, and that's been the first point that I've known that they're actually happy with what I've made.
There's been times where I've posted it on Instagram, like ages later, and then they'll comment like, "Oh, thanks so much for this, I love it." And it's like you could have said that in an email, like when I actually delivered it.
But also on the complete flip to that as well, though, and I feel like that's made it kind of feel like hard work or underappreciated. But then I feel like everything's been the polar opposite as well. Like I've never had in one single year more thank you cards, gifts. Like the people that have thanked me have been, waves of kindness, and have say bought me odd gifts or done things which I never would have had in the past or expected to get that level of kind of gratitude from people. I'm really grateful that they have, but it just seems such a polar opposite when you go from, someone's got you a voucher to your favourite restaurant to go and have dinner and a big card with one of my pictures on the front and the rest of it. And then the couple whose wedding I shot 2 days before couldn't even message me back and say thank you.
I don't get thank you cards or gifts, but I mean, some of the emails we're getting back are really that really make me feel like this is why I do it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like the ones that email back and say, this is everything we ever wanted. You've captured our wedding literally perfectly and like made it the vibe that we wanted and everything. Yeah. I'm just like, do you know what? I'm so grateful because this means I'm on the right track when I'm doing things for other people as well. Because
I think you need those kind of positive words to make sure that, that when you get 3 weddings on the bounce that don't reply to you, just to kind of go, no, I am doing a good job, that these people appreciate me.
Yeah.
And the chance, and I'm perfectly aware that the people that we haven't probably responded to us have loved their photos and have appreciated them.
Yeah,
they
definitely.
just, that lack of, I'm sure I've done it. Someone's texted me and gone, I replied to that. And then 3 weeks later, I've replied to it.
Yeah.
And I know that happened to one of my couples. I had, they sent me a message after I sent them the sneak peeks and they were like, we love them. We can't wait for the gallery. Delivered the gallery. And I was really, really proud of that gallery, really happy with it. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
And then the florist chased me and was like, could you mind if I have some of the photos to share? So I was like, yeah, of course. Here's the link to the gallery. But you might want to check in with the couple because I haven't heard from them. So I need to make sure that they've actually seen them and they're cool with you to share. Yeah, I'll do that. About the next day, I had an email from this bride.
Yeah.
And it was massive, a really long email, like, oh my God, Tom, I'm so sorry. She's like, we typed you out a message. And she was like, I was convinced I pressed send on it before I jumped in my car to do a drive back home, which is, she's from up north but lives more southern, so I had a long drive. And then she was like, I've literally just come and found that email in my outbox now. So she'd written it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, fair
and
play.
then 2 weeks had gone by, and she just hadn't sent it. And she's like, I've been so busy between work and seeing family and this and that. And you're like, yeah, I feel you're there.
I mean, I don't think people... I think there's probably a couple of people who are just like, oh, got my stuff, that's it. But I don't think most people are doing it because they're not
intentionally doing it. Yeah.
Like, obviously life just moves on so quickly, and by the time you've got your photos and videos, your focus is on something completely different.
And also, like, when you get married, your wedding kind of consumes you, doesn't it? At that time, you can't think of anything else. And in the lead up to it, but I guess because we're the last kind of ports of call of the wedding. Like, getting your photos and your film back are kind of the last things that you do. Really. So I guess sometimes I think because we deliver that little bit delayed after the wedding, we kind of miss that big first round of, I must say thank you to everybody. And when they've sent the card to the hairdresser and the florist and the venue and their friends for giving them gifts.
Because they've all done their actual
that's all been
job.
done. So in their head it's kind of like, oh, I've done all my thank yous.
And
then a week later their photos arrive. And then 2 weeks after that their film arrives. And it's just kind of almost, I'll get back to them. And because it's one person, not 50.
Yeah, true, yeah.
That's why you get forgotten. But we're still needy people. And it does still bother me sometimes if I go, I really hope they like it. And you play out all these scenarios in your head of, oh, they hate it, but just don't want to say it. Or I feel, I don't really want to share that. Even though I love that wedding, but I really don't feel I can share any of it until I've had kind of like that nod from them that, oh, we really like it.
I've learned to tune all that out now. I just like,
I don't know, I'm still not past
just don't care anymore. Like, don't reply to me, that's fine. If I want to post it, I'll post it. If I don't, I don't. But like, we have no contract. You've got 7 days to reply. If you don't, you're having it, and that's it. Basically, like, because
in terms of changes or anything like that.
In terms of changes and stuff. So, and again, that you see when people have viewed it, if they've viewed it, downloaded it, clearly shared it, like, because the amount of views goes up depending on how many people view it. So if it's like 10 views, you know they've shared it with 9 people or whatever, right? So you know they've shared it, so they're happy. Like, if they're not happy with it, they're not going to immediately go and show everyone, right? They might do it at some point, but not straight away. So I kind of gotten over that a little bit, because I feel like because we deliver a bit later, maybe it might be this, I'm not sure, or maybe it's a videographer thing, or maybe it's just a type of couples or whatever, or communication, I'm not really sure, but we don't get gifts or cards or anything really. Like,
I find that really odd.
We might just get like at the end of the process, we'll get a thank you and like an email saying cheers and everything when the film comes, then we'll send the gallery and get...
Well, I feel like you give just as much as I do, and you're just as personable as I am on the day, maybe.
It was even later. Like you're saying about it's a couple of weeks later and they get their photos and they're sort of over it by then. Then a month or two later they get their video and it's maybe it's that. I don't know. Or someone that won't reply and then leave a really nice review and it'd be like, perfect.
I find that even more odd though.
Like
when someone, they can't reply, they can't message you to go, oh, cheers, I really like it. But they'll leave you a gushing Google review. It's great. That's how people find me. Yeah. But I just find that kind of disconnect really, like if you're too busy to text back and go to reply to hit reply on an email when I've sent them something, like I find that I do find that weird.
I've always debated why. I think I don't know whether other videographers are in the same boat, but I feel like because we're not as involved in the day as photographers, we don't have to get involved with the family and like be really upfront about it. Maybe we just don't have that. I don't know. I feel like we have a presence, but you know what I mean. Like, we don't need to, like we're not always friends with the family because we don't have to direct them and tell the family to do things and things like that. And I feel like
like you were saying, though, I don't really feel like I need to have that reply. It's nice to know that they're happy.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm at that point now where I don't need that thank you to be validated that I've done a good job.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't proud of the gallery, I wouldn't deliver it. I'd keep working on it until I was.
Yeah.
Or I kind of feel like I'm at a point in my career now where I'm confident in the work that I make that the wedding that I've produced for them, unless something horrific goes wrong, which touch wood it hasn't, like I would give them a gallery which is representative of the day they've had, my style, my talent and whatever.
Yeah.
I'd still just like to know that one, they've received it, and that they're happy with what I've produced. Like if someone came back and complained, I would listen to it and deal with it.
100%,
But I don't sit there kind of checking every day for a response to them to go, if they don't like it, I've done a terrible job. Or
I'd much rather someone come back and was like, it's just missing like this shot or something. I've had that recently where a couple have come back and been like, love it, just missing a couple of shots of like Nan or something. And it's like, oh right, okay, I'm happy to put them in, even though like contract says no. I'm happy that she's come back to me, said she loves it.
Well, especially you've got direct feedback, like you know how to make them happy.
Literally all it wants is,
I'm not really feeling it. Well, why? I don't know, it's just not quite. But if they say more Nan and I'm good.
You literally like added 3 shots, happy, job done. Couple of extra shots of Nan because it's only a short film anyway. And it was like, I'd much rather that than just nothing at all, especially if you don't like it. But I feel like if you don't like it and you're not saying something about it, this is the wedding.
How can that be constructive criticism? Just, I don't really like it. It's not.
No, I mean, like if you don't like it and you're not responding back to the photos or the gallery or something to say is there something that you can be changed or whatever. This ain't a meal that you where they come over and be like, is everything okay with your meal? And you're like, yeah, good. And you're like, it's disgusting. Yeah, like, this is the wedding photos and videos. Like you
can't just move on from it and don't do that the next time.
Yeah, you should have something.
Yeah. Or again, the same way that we spoke in countless episodes about just being passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
Like it's like if I've got a level of care or I'm that passionate about making these photos for you.
Yeah.
Like they're your photos.
Yeah.
Like you should be passionate about receiving them, looking at them, and what goes into it. And it's like if I'm more excited about your photos than you are, like I just find that a little
it also
odd.
comes down to it just bit like it's just the world we live in at the moment. Everything's quite straight, like quite what's it called? Immediate. Like everything comes straight away, and like we just at the end of the day we are a product. So like the product comes, you look at it, you're like, cool, I've got my product now, and then that's it. Like you don't feel like you need to do some big hurrah because they're self-employed, and I don't know, maybe this is part of that. But
I also wonder as well, and if you did some kind of like analyze on it, is that the people that are self-employed, that you work, if you work for people who are self-employed, whether you get a more proportionate thank you from them because they understand
this is so true
what
because
you go through. Or if you work for someone that works for big companies, it's not the same. Do you
know
a lot
of the couples who have replied to me this year or like given me really glowing like responses and stuff, I know for a fact that they're self-employed. That makes a huge difference.
So they appreciate that importance of a good review, or they do the same. That if they've done something for you, they're looking for that thank you as well. Maybe.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. But yeah, so that I don't think they're negatives. I think that's just a thing that's happening.
I think it's industry wide. It's not just me and you as well. Or not even just industry wide. The way of the world now. We live in a much more fickle, fast moving world.
Yeah, definitely.
And unfortunately, but then again, you could say I don't go fishing for a. Can you leave me a review? Did you like? I don't chase people for that validation either.
Yeah.
Where now you've only got to buy one thing from an online shop once, and as soon as you've clicked out on it, they're asking you to how do you rate our product? It's not even arrived yet.
Yeah.
And almost, do we live in that world now where maybe we do need to send a feedback email or something like that to get that response from people? Do we need to field that ourselves?
To be fair, I've done last two weddings. I've done a preview like a couple of days after, like a little reel or something, a couple of days after the wedding, and both of them have immediately either messaged or commented on it saying like, "Oh, thank you so much, guys!" Like, and that's like 2 in 2. That's quite good.
And I do wonder if it is an immediacy thing because I know we've just spoke about it. I feel sometimes that I get a much better reply rate to my sneak peeks the following morning from a wedding than I do from final galleries 6 weeks after.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because they almost wake up and you're like,
because they're still in the bubble.
That excitement's there. Where by then it's like they're looking at their watch going.
I feel that could be something to do with it. So I feel like one of my goals for next year, which we'll get onto, is to do those reels for people straight after, so that even if I do have a long wait time, people have always seen something.
Got something.
Yeah, and like I said, it is getting a bit more of a response as well from people and people sharing it and stuff. So
I think so. So we jump into kind of the last of the positives that we've got.
Yeah.
Like I did. And we spoke about this before as well, a price increase the start of last year. So this year was my first kind of year where I was reaping the benefit of that price increase.
Yeah.
So like we said earlier in the episode, I shot 10 weddings less this year than last year.
Yeah.
But my company turned over more money from weddings.
That's sick, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is the dream, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of that, I've been to, say, 10 less weddings, had just as much fun as I did last year. I've probably, seen some new venues, new experiences and the rest of it. But purely from a business point of view, that is, 10 less meetings, 10 less edits, 10 less whatever I've had to do for more money.
And that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? It's a good, like, I don't know what other people's ultimate goal is, but I think, like, the goal of self-employed is to have the freedom, but you don't because you're working all the time. So I feel like if you just have... Everyone says this to me, and I don't know whether it actually is. Everyone says, "Just do 20 weddings at $3,000, you're sorted. You never have to change that formula. Just job done." And part of that is true. As soon as you get to that, you want to do more or whatever.
Well, I think it's a balance, isn't there, of finding out what your busy is. Some people are quite happy to do 50 a year. Some people 10 is too much. So it's finding kind of that number, which for a balance. And I even found like I knew that last year that I couldn't have another year of doing 40 plus weddings.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll try 35 with the price increase that I've done. That still gives me a good income based on that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that this year that's been definitely enough.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I've had some good gaps though to have holidays and do whatever. I'd always like a little bit more, but I don't think I'd like to go probably less than 25 because I would feel that I wasn't working enough. Do you know what I mean? I'd feel then that I'd have too big a gaps.
You do need to get into a flow, don't you? Definitely.
And definitely, you know, I've had when we spoke about this again, where if you do a double, a Friday, Saturday, sometimes you're almost better because you're in the flow of those things. Or in the summer sometimes of being in that kind of groove of like editing the week, one wedding on the weekend, back at you kind of do keep in that constant kind of flow of moving along. But I know that I can't stay like that for 20 weekends on the bounce. Yeah. It's not healthy.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like 35 was a good number to try this year. I've definitely felt better for having that little bit more time back.
Yeah.
I maybe still want a little bit more time back, but not loads. I'm not looking to go and half my wedding bookings for next year.
Yeah, no, that's good because at the end of the day, like it's still your job, you still enjoy it,
and I still love being.
So you've got to go into the flow of things. I think there's some American videographers that I follow, and they literally do like a handful a year at like ridiculous prices.
Yeah,
and it's like how can you justify those prices if you're only doing that many a year and the rest of your time is spent in education? How can you educate more than you do the thing that you're educating about?
When the people you educate shoot far more weddings than you do. Or I think as well, it would alarm me to get down to that point because by law of averages, and we've spoken about this countless times through this year, is that you've had some weddings in your calendar this year which on paper should have been the best wedding you've ever been to.
Yeah.
And because of the weather or because of maybe the guests or something's not quite gelled there and it hasn't ended up being that wedding that it should have been.
Yeah.
And then you've had weddings that you've gone, oh, that would be a really nice day. Have actually really surprised you.
Yeah, definitely.
And been great.
Yeah.
Where if you only shoot, say, 10 weddings in a year, imagine if you have two couples that turn around and go, we don't want you to share our photos.
Yeah.
That puts you down to 8 weddings worth of content.
Yeah.
You have 3 of those that it rains
heavy for like a few of them, yeah.
You're left with such a small pool of work to market from and to share that those weddings then, you really feel that you've got to squeeze them dry of absolutely everything that you do.
Our 3 biggest, most expensive, most like fun, crazy weddings on paper this year have all been like complete washouts due to rain and all been like really quite like hard, like difficult to construct. And like you say, like that's fine. We've got another 30 odd to choose from, but those 3 were.
If you'd have pinned your entire thing on those 3.
They were like our flagship. Like, oh, we're booking them in. They're going to be sick. If that's a sunny day, we've got a portfolio. But if those were your own, if that was third of your bookings, like you'd be screwed, wouldn't you?
I think again, you always talk about that balance. It's balance of time off against balance that you're working, but also there's extremes in everything. I have no idea how there are people that go out and shoot 60 plus weddings every year and still manage to have time to keep their health, sanity,
and still enjoy it,
work-life balance, and still love it at the end of it. But at the same time, I know from doing this year that I've started to feel that balance is coming, but I've not quite perfected it. But it's nice to know to sit here a year on, seeing that price increase and the benefits that it's given me financially and also in terms of time balance.
Yeah, it's good to keep track of that for sure. I've also raised my prices this year. So we spoke about it earlier in the year, but I raised my prices in probably like April and May. And then started getting the bookings in for that. I've just raised them again, like pretty considerably again as well. Not had the inquiries coming in yet from it, but I do find that it normally takes a little bit of time after you raise them to get them.
We spoke about this, didn't we? I know that I had it when I did mine, is that you do get like a settling in period, I think, where you need to adjust to that new number.
But like on the opposite of what you're saying, thing is, you raise your prices, you've got one package, right? Yeah. I found that I've raised my prices quite a lot this year, and instead of we're getting the same amount of bookings, but much more people are choosing to go for the cheapest option. So I'm not complaining because I've made it so that that's the minimum I'm willing to do at that price, basically. Like, and it's obviously a lower minute count for the edit, right? I prefer like the sort of sub 10-minute edits anyway, like 6 to 8 minutes. That's probably like prime spot.
What's the longest that you do?
Longest I did is 15 minutes.
Oh wow, which is still quite a long time for a highlights, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, but complete like transparency. I don't enjoy doing them at all. And some of them you are dragging it out. And like if you speak to a lot of videographers that do 15-minute films, I think they find that they're dragging it out a bit as well, because you're just putting like extra bits of speeches or extra bits of ceremony
just
in
to fill
there.
that minute count
you deliver that anyway. So if you do an 8-minute one, you don't have to put those extra bits of speeches or ceremony, but you've got the same amount of B-roll because you're trying to squeeze the B-roll into a short amount of time. And you can be a bit more creative with it because you've got the time to edit it. So I'm finding a lot more people going for the 6 to 8 minute edits than just one videographer.
Do you think you'd ever get to a point where you would lose those big edits though? If people aren't booking them and you don't like doing them?
Yeah, so my new pricing strategy is just to price that to the point where I don't think anyone's going to book it.
Okay.
So I think at the moment I've raised it to a point where I've never got a booking at the price that is now.
Okay.
So we'll see if anyone books it. We'll come back next year and I'll let you know if anyone's booked it. But I think right now our highest package is at a price where I don't think that many people are going to book it. So now, because I'm trying to get people to go for like the middle, basically. My aim is always in these packages. The reason I do 3 packages is because I'm always trying to get people to go for the middle. That's kind of my psychology about it. But I find, I don't know whether it's cost of living. I don't know whether it's because people are preferring shorter films these days. But a lot of people are going for the lower, which means I'm going to have to take the same, if not more, weddings next year, although I'll have less editing to do, which is kind of a win. So
or get to a point where if that pattern continues to not just be this year, it is an actual shift in the industry that people are genuinely wanting shorter and shorter content.
You
get to a point where that price at the bottom comes up again, so that you can afford to still take slightly less weddings to only make short films, because it's not now just a cheaper option. That is the way of the world.
Exactly. And I'm not complaining. Like I've got, there's a weekend next year where I've got one day I'm doing 2 videographers, a 15-minute film, and a highlight and drone and everything. And then that's a certain price. And then the next day I've got one videographer, a 6-minute film, and I'm charging the same amount for it because I've raised my prices that much.
Because of where they are.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's huge. And I had a couple of times this year where I had doubles where the gap between them was quite big. The gap
between them, yeah.
And I think sometimes it's in those moments that you can see that growth then, can't you? You can really see it. Yeah. And in some ways you argue that, the people that have got the loads of you for the lesser prices, they have lucked in. Yeah. But it's almost looking at that as a lesson then, isn't it? To go, well, do you know what? If someone knocks my door now for a 2026 booking, exactly. I can't let that slip in at the prices that I'm currently charging.
Yeah. Things happen so slowly when you put them into action, don't they? Like I've raised my prices 2-3 weeks ago. I won't see that till probably mid 25 now. Yeah. So that's a pretty crazy thought to have.
But it's nice, isn't it, to know that I feel like even just from us having this conversation every sort of month now, over the course of the year, it seems like, and maybe because we're having the chat, that you've become a lot more aware to that side of the industry now. Like you're almost kind of looking at like your business a lot more kind of further into the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Than we'll worry about this season, then I'll worry about next.
Yeah. Like, you're thinking, what am I going to want to do?
What's 25 and 26 going to look like for me? Or because you need to sow those seeds now.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something to think about is when you're looking at your prices now. And I feel like I also keep an eye on the competition, and I see their film lengths going down as well. So I feel like it must be a trend. Like I know that some of like my closest like friends who do videography, they're all sort of solo videographers doing 5 to 10 minute sort of style films. And I think if someone's looking at my stuff and looking at other people's stuff, and it's all around the 10-minute mark, and I've got one that's like 15 minutes, so like, why do I really need that sort of thing? So, and
I guess it is the industry or the way of the world is changing towards consuming content faster. So you need to make like say highlights isn't quarter of an hour, is it? It's, It's something. Okay, give me 5 or 6 minutes to show me the very best.
The best stuff that you can just show your friends and family and stuff. And if you want to get deep into it, you can have ceremony and speeches. And I actually got someone booking me for next year, I think. He was like, can I just take all the films out and just have the keepsake edit? And the keepsake edit is basically just
everything.
Basically, it's almost uncut footage, but I take out all the crap bits and the bits of me talking.
That's mad, isn't it? They don't want highlights. They don't want. They just want one massive.
Got to go along.
Basically, a documentary of their wedding.
Literally a document. She was like, I want it to be as much like the sort of old school wedding films as possible, where it's all as natural as possible, or just with modern film making equipment and techniques and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So I don't want couple shoot, don't want anything like that. I was like, you're having a couple shoots? They're like, yeah, but we don't really want it filmed. I was like, cool. So I'm turning up, I'm just filming guests all day, and then I'm going home, putting it together.
Like an Uncle Bob, like a fly, like with your camcorder, just following.
I'm buzzing for it. I'm like, I just don't really have to be like super creative about it, thinking about how I'm going to integrate things into the edit.
And I guess that's why you've got the footage. So if they ever came back to you in the future and were like, well, we probably would want some of this chopped into something.
That's the thing, like, it might be, you
could turn around then and go, well, here's an editing fee for me to make a 6 minute for you.
Yeah. So it's strange how it's either like I want something a bit shorter or I want something a bit more natural, because I feel like people are just looking at those sort of 15-minute ones.
But surely as a rule, though, a lot of those couples are pretty few and far between, right? You don't get lots of those people that just want that.
Oh, no. But it's becoming a more popular thing. The keepsake edit, more and more people are adding it, and I'm starting to realise that, like, people care about that now. People want a bit more natural. I think everything's getting a bit too, like, edited and curated.
Don't you feel as I felt, though, that people want everything? Like, they want you to curate and give them that really polished, like, slither of awesomeness.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they also want to know that they've got all the everything in their back pockets. If they want to look through that in private, they won't share it to their like public facing Instagram or social, but they want to look through everything. And I find that probably the galleries that I deliver as well, is that, I still market myself on a nice set of portraits, but a brilliant document of the day.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff that people put on their socials when they go, oh, here's a carousel for my wedding, it is the confetti, it's the sunset, because they know as well as we do that that's what their mates are going to like. Not the sweet photo of them holding Nan's hand in the drinks. But they've got that in the back. And I know for a fact that when you speak to people about their galleries afterwards, they go, oh, that's the photos we love, oh, that natural stuff, and they really love that and they cherish it deep. But they won't share it because it's not cool. Do you know what I mean? To put that on their Instagram.
Photography is such a weird thing, because the thing that really matters is the thing no one ever sees before they book
it's
you. Like the whole gallery.
And I find that it's still something which blows my mind now. Like, is that every year I kind of look at the amount of images that I've shot, that I've culled, and then I've delivered. Yeah. And I bet that base number, you think in like kind of numbers, I might have to get a calculator out here, but like if I shoot 35 weddings a year and say as a pure average, I shoot somewhere between 3,000 to 3,500 frames at every wedding.
Jesus. So you're shooting like 110,000?
I don't know, my maths is terrible. So if we say roughly 3,500 times 35, that's 122,500 images. Yeah. Taken over 2 cameras at weddings in 1 year.
Jesus. Yeah.
So that's nearly 122,000 images. Yeah. And then say my average gallery sizes are probably 800 images for a full day. So if you do 800 times 35, I've still delivered and edited somewhere in the region of 28,000 images photos, this year. Yeah. By the time I finish. Yeah. But then when you look at 28,000 against the 122,000 that I've taken. Yeah. And then to probably think that to go into my portfolio, I reckon that won't even be 1%. So 1% of 28,000 is what, 280? Yeah.
There's no way you've posted that many photos this year. Yeah.
Not a chance.
Yeah. Probably half that, I reckon.
But and to actually remain in my portfolio going forward.
So you're looking at the top 0.5%.
Probably 28.
Of...
At most.
Really? Yeah.
Like there would actually be that in 2 years' time might still be there and being used.
Yeah, mad.
So if you look at that from a pyramid, you start off with that 122,000 frames.
Yeah, and
or times that I've pressed the button
of them
at a wedding, and stuff that might live in my portfolio going forward is 28.
That's nuts, isn't it? I think I'm bad because I'm like, I do 34 weddings. I probably post 10 highlights, maybe 15, so it's about half the weddings that I actually end up anywhere. The rest of them just disappear into the abyss, or I post screenshots or something. But
and I have to believe that there are those couples at home, and I know there are because you do speak to them or you see them at other weddings, and when you shot their wedding 3 years ago and they tell you that we do look at it, and I'd like to think that there's more than 28 of those images loved and shared and
every single one of them
printed on people's doors, on people's walls and on their phones or whatever, and they are being enjoyed. They're not just literally on a USB stick or an online gallery gathering dust.
But what's the point? Your Instagram's not going to be pumping if you're posting 28,000 photos a year on your Instagram, is it?
Well, you get like back in the day when you give people their gallery and they post all of their wedding photos. Yeah. Here's an album on Facebook. Here's like 862
an album
photos.
On Facebook.
Who actually of their guests actually probably sat and looked through all 862 photos?
Yeah.
But sometimes I'd love to know how many of my clients actually sit through the whole of their gallery. Do you know what I mean?
All of them.
And literally click through image by image, or do they just get that big grid and just go and just slide through?
I think the people we target, all of them. I think it's different if they're booking it for a wedding planner or something, because they've done it because they're too busy to look at that stuff anyway. But I mean, we scrolled through every single one of our photos, and we've done it to show multiple people as well. So like over and over again. So
and I really, really hope people do.
Yeah.
And especially that there's articles, there's episodes on this, and definitely one of the episodes that I firmly want to put on the list for next year as well, because we've touched upon it in various times, is the importance that I put on storytelling across a whole gallery.
Yeah. Okay.
And making that flow from start to finish. That's something which probably this year has become more important to me than ever, is how one location move connects to the next one, or how one scene in the gallery connects to the next one, and how it is all kind of one thing, almost like a film should be. And I think there's definitely a really good episode for that next year.
I think photos work, but when I look at the photography weddings I've done, I look at the photos and I think, yeah, they're cool photos. When I put them in a gallery, I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense.
They come alive,
yeah.
But they just become, rather than being a collection of moments, they do become
a story,
yeah.
Well, that's what a collection of moments becomes, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, but rather than clutching 28 images out of even one gallery.
Yeah.
You know, or when you do people sneak peeks, you literally go, oh, there's a confetti, there's a sunset.
And
you look at those 10 photos and you go, well, they're taken probably from the first one to the last one. They might be taken 8 hours apart.
Yeah.
And you can get a rough idea, can't you? It's like getting say a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle where someone gave you 8 bits of it.
Yeah.
You might roughly be able to go, well, that goes there and that goes
kind
there.
Of it is,
It's not until you start putting all the other bits in that you begin to see
the full picture,
the whole picture of the day. Because in those highlights or those sneak peeks that I give, a lot of times some of them are probably quite void of guests.
Yeah.
Like Nan's not in that one, or like your bridesmaids might be in that group one, but they did loads of other bits as well. Prep in the morning, and when you start putting those bits back in, like you start to see everything, don't you? Like, you know, when I deliver sneak peeks, sometimes you probably can't always tell what venue they're at, because if it is like a tight confetti shot, then it's like a nice sunset.
Yeah, because you're not going to do a venue shot, are you?
But you're not going to put in there, like you're not going to put a wide venue shot in there. Oh, here's a shot of the front of the house.
Yeah, you get 10 photos and one of them is just a shot of the house.
Or I almost think, well, if I am giving you that as a sneak peek, I dread to think what the full gallery is going to bring. Do you know what I mean? If I'm feeling the need to go, this is the pinnacle of your wedding day, is the front of the hotel. Like,
right, we should move on to some of the other positives we've got. I wanted to say, like, to reiterate again what I think what we've said previously, is that I do feel like I'm on a vibe with my couples this year as well, and I feel like this has been a theme throughout the year, is like trying to like identify, I guess, your ideal couple. And me and you saying, I think like we're at a point where most of the couples we're getting, even the ones that don't reply on the day before the actual wedding day itself, is all the stuff that really resonates with you.
I could probably say, hand on heart, this year that I reckon that 90, maybe even 95% of the couples that I've shot, their weddings have come through and have been.
Yeah.
They have been my couples.
Yeah.
They might have been an odd couple in that have got to it in the end where things have been misaligned.
Yeah.
And if I really thought about it, I probably could have seen it come in. But for the most part, even if their wedding day, like say, didn't end up being that like portfolio wedding, the couple themselves and the day they had, the values they had, and the way they wanted me to shoot it, were on brand for me. Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for in a year, isn't it? Really, for like, or in a client base, is for you resonate with them, they share the same values as you. That's weird. Something
definitely moved in the Christmas tree.
Clicked in the Christmas tree.
Just freak me out now. We're going to go poltergeist, isn't it?
Yeah, poltergeist on the pod. So that's all you can really ask for now. And I feel like just wanted to bring that up because it's something that we talk about quite a lot.
It's really terrifying me now. I can't stop looking.
It was very strange. All of a sudden, something happened over there.
I don't know. We're going to leave it. It's fine. Yeah, and that's what you can want. And I feel, again, it's just really nice to see that you put that work into to kind of put the feelers out, or to show kind of a vibe, if you like, of who you want to attract.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that that's doing its job.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably when you booked them 18 months ago, you're finally reaping the reward of that work now.
Yeah, that's good. I also feel like gear-wise, I'm in a place where I'm quite a techie person, right? And
it's been a lot of gear this year as well, haven't you?
I wouldn't say I have, actually.
Did you not? I feel like you've replaced every lens that you've had to upgrade them to the 1.4s.
Yeah, that's the only thing I did. That's the only thing.
I only bought 7 new lenses.
I only bought two lenses. Oh, actually, I did buy. I did buy a few lenses this year. Yeah. Okay. So now, right, because there's 2 of us. Yeah, I feel like we have to. I'm quite a techie person anyway, and so like I started this because I like technology and stuff as it is.
Yeah.
I've spoken on the pod about how like, you know, I've just literally just spoken today about how I've upgraded from an iPhone 14 Pro to 15 Pro. There's people shouting down the microphones like, there's no difference, whatever. But like, I appreciate small things like that.
Yeah.
And so going from a 51.8 to 51.4, I can see the difference.
But also, like you said as well, it's not. I may be doing you a disservice here. It's not.
That's fine.
That is a better lens in terms of sharpness, quality of aperture, and the rest of it. But you had that revelation that you had in the year about the stabilization of native lenses, and how the new Sonys all are balanced the same. Is that right?
No, they have some sort of stabilization built in. Even the ones that don't have OSS, Sony in-body image stabilization works much better with official Sony lenses, and especially like the new G Masters, they have actually like some voodoo stabilization inside as well, so it actually helps. Yeah,
so it's not purely been like, oh, I'm shooting better weddings, I can afford a better version of the lens. There's been more sort of other but you get to a point where scenes reasons behind it. The only
upgrades you can have are marginal improvements anyway.
Yeah.
So I've gone from like shooting on for example, 55. I had a 55mm. The A7S III crops 10% when you're shooting with active stabilization, right? So it makes it like above a 60. That was a bit too tight for a nifty 50, right? Yeah. So it went to the 50mm 1.4. Obviously now it's a 1.4. It's great. It's the equivalent to 55 when you're shooting with active stabilization. It's now got a tiny bit more stabilization for handheld stuff.
Yeah.
That has genuinely made me shoot handheld for another 10% of the day, more than I normally would.
And that's time that
the ultimate goal is to keep
it lighter.
Exactly. And so small things like that. And that now I've obviously, so I bought a couple of Samyang lenses for like for gimbal use and things like that. And I bought those two I bought the 35 1.4 and the 50 1.4.
Yeah.
That was between January and April. Since then I've made no big purchases that I can really think of. And I feel like I'm in a place now where like gear I'm not thinking about, I could redo with this for my work, or I could redo with this. I don't think that anymore.
A really nice place to be, isn't it? Yeah. I remember like starting out doing like photography and kind of having like when we did that whole episode, didn't we, on our camera journeys, and going and staring through the window of London Camera Exchange, looking at the Pro camera or the 2470 2.8, going, what the hell, I'm gonna own you. Like at the moment I've got the Sigma, like crappy one ever, and to be at a point now where you pretty much have the best lens setup that you can have, that you're running a business, charging enough money, or working with that kit often enough that you can justify to literally buy the pinnacle of those lenses that you use.
And I'm not a minimalist.
Is a really nice place to be, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of videographers out there on the pages and that who are like, shoot 35, 85, don't own any other lens and whatever. I'm not that person. I've got three different zoom lenses. I've got like 2 versions of each focal length of prime. I've got it all in my bag, so that I'm like prepared for every occasion for 2 videographers to go out and film with one set of kit. And there's never any time where I'm like, I could really do with that or something. And there might not be if I was a minimalist, but I'm just not. So I'm now happy that I've just got I'm set on sort of what I'm doing, if you know what I mean.
But don't you think as well, like with age and with kind of confidence in your business or experience from doing what you do, you know now that's you, that's who you are. Yeah. There's no point in this. It's almost, rather than say people on the internet or other people going, you should really be this, or you get swayed by how other people shoot. Yeah. Like you're confident enough in your ability and the way that you do shoot now that you don't feel bad about owning that many lenses because that's what you need to do your job best.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like another videographer said, like a friend of mine said to me, why did you buy that? Like, you just need an excuse to buy something. My dad. Pretty much. I like the gear of what I do as well. It's not just about the moments and the weddings and stuff. I like the tech and every year I'm looking at like new camera videos and stuff. Never buy them because I don't feel the need to. But like, it's just always good to keep up with that sort of thing. I think it's a fun part of the job. So.
Also, it gives you a lot less room to hide and a lot less excuses, doesn't it? Like, you know for yourself now that if something was to go wrong with a film, or you could self-critique. Yeah. Like, you can't go, well, if I had the 1.4.
No, exactly.
The shooting that dark dance floor it would have been so much easier if I had this.
That's what I mean. If you got the best stuff, there's literally no excuses for if you mess up things. And I think like that's in a position that I quite like being in. But I kind of lost myself when I went from the A7 IIIs to the A7S because you couldn't use crop mode. I kind of lost myself in what I was doing. I was like, I used to have a 24mm on one side, 50mm on the other side, and you could crop, so it's 24, 35, and a 50 and a 75. And then when you couldn't do that, I didn't know how to shoot anymore. So on the A7S, you can't do that. So I was like, went to zooms for a little bit, then got bored of that. Then I've been everywhere. But now I'm like, I'm exactly where I want to be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice thing to kind of know that, again, you've put that work in to experiment or feel lost for a while. Yeah. And that's got to, you know, not saying that you haven't made good films from it or you've not filmed nice stuff, but I feel the same. Like when I get to a point where I've got a system that I know is completely foolproof and it works, like having two cameras the same, a lens system that you know exactly where everything should be, and kind of you run like a well-oiled machine, don't you? And when you feel like that's been taken away from you and you've got to then revisit your process, it's quite disorientating to not just the kit bit, but how you then use that on the day.
Yeah,
in something which is quite you're reacting to quite fast.
Yeah. So it was a strange transition to make, but no, it is good, a good feeling to have that. Not that gear holds you back anyway. I just feel like now I'm just thinking in my brain. I'm not even thinking about that. And it's also changed the way I shoot a little bit as well. I've started shooting at the second half of this year, I've started shooting a lot with a monopod on the 75mm, which is so different to my usual crazy Grimball like movement style. Like during the candids now, I literally plop a monopod down, 75mm, and shoot candids. And like it's so different, but like I'm loving it. It's like, but it's just forced me to go out of my comfort zone, and it's producing really good stuff. So,
but don't you think that I've found that, like, with all the things that we've said about doing the price increase, about being confident in your brand, about trying new things, it comes down to that point of being okay with being uncomfortable. Like realizing that if you're going to keep all the things in your business the same as they've been forever, is that you are going to stay in the same place. Yeah. And it's almost being mentally prepared to go, no, I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to try and do this differently, or it might not pay off, but if it does, it will be so much better, or I need to learn this because that will allow me to be here. Yeah. And I know that it's going to be scary, and I know that if I put my price up and I have 6 weeks when nobody books me, I'm going to feel really worried. But you know that when that does pay off, that it is the right thing to do, and it's almost... And you know, we're far from a self-help podcast, but you know, once you do kind of take that kind of mindset shift of, okay, I do need to push myself, and that kind of feeling a little bit uneasy about some of the choices that you make is a really healthy place to be. Yeah, I think that's definitely when you'll see the biggest change.
Whether it's your own choice, whether it's like something has put you outside your comfort zone, the end result is normally quite good anyway.
And I think that probably leads into one of my biggest highs this year is doing the first destination wedding.
Oh yeah,
like I went to Malta this year for that. It was the first time I've ever been destination, and like I say, and I said about it when we did at the time, is I remember once I got there, like never feeling more kind of overwhelmed, terrified, out of my comfort zone ever. But now looking back on that experience, it was 100% one of the best things of this year.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I've booked one in for next year, which is probably a high of this year as well. That I've finally booked in a destination wedding. I've been trying for ages. I say trying, but like sort of passively trying, not actively. I haven't gone out and done any workshops abroad or whatever, but like I've had it on my website ready to go. It's been bubbling. Yeah. Finally booked one in, so looking forward to that.
So are we through positives? Are we on to our goals?
One last thing is, just want to say that, like, positives wise, I feel like I'm producing a good, like, I'm really happy with where my highlights and my trailers are at the moment. Like, I feel like I'm producing like a very good balance. There was a point before like 2020 where I was just producing films, like just if someone said what's your style, I'd be like, it's like wedding films. Do you know what I mean? And then I pivoted into like a lot more fun, crazy stuff, and then I've toned down, and I feel like now I'm like right where I want to be. Is like,
do you feel like you almost had to go too far to come back?
Yeah,
found a balance in the middle.
Yeah, I found a perfect balance in the middle, and like literally I had a client literally say to me, oh, you produce like energetic cinematic wedding films, don't you? And I was like, that's so good.
I'm going to use that.
I literally used it on my website. I've used it everywhere now because I feel that is the perfect way of describing what I do.
I think that
it's like energetic, and that I'm not using slow piano music, and it's cinematic, and that I'm not going too far into the...
But you've got that degree of kit which makes it a technically well produced film, but it's got an energy about it. That's really good. That's good.
So feeling super happy about where
just
I am.
Just send that person my way and see if they can say something. Looking for a new tagline.
No, that was good.
So that's cool. So you got the balance of that. So I think moving into next year, I kind of feel that this year's been amazing, and we're at a really nice time of the year now where you can maybe look at it with a little bit more sort of level-headedness of, like, yes, there's been times this year where probably mentally I've really struggled, held myself to a higher standard and probably given myself a harder time of it than I needed to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of the highs I've had this year have been really rewarding and really worth it. So I think...
Yeah. There's not a point where I'm like, I don't want to do this next year. I'm
still nowhere near that.
Going for it, yeah.
I think I just know that I need to probably be kinder to myself or be a little bit more realistic in what I actually can achieve in certain times. I think I'm still that person that goes, oh yeah, I'll get that back. I'll get that done. Oh yeah, I could probably fit that in. And I think that's probably my biggest lesson that I want for next year is when I start to book weddings or I look at the weddings that I've got booked in, is I'm going to try and find a way that I can almost allocate editing time to that booking as I book it. Because I think that's a lot of bad diary management this year is what's left me forgetting kind of those pinch points have appeared because I've shot weddings close together and then worried about how I'm going to edit them. And
you get a corporate job and be like, yeah, I'll do that.
And that's it. And I've shot quite a lot of commercial this year, which that obviously comes out the blue and it needs to be a shorter deadline as well. And then if anything, I've more or less, I've made those pinch points myself. Like I shouldn't have had the rushes that I've had with editing because of how many weddings I've shot in the time that I've done them. I feel like in some ways it's bad diary management on my commercial jobs, maybe some social stuff and maybe just some other stuff that I've let stuff pile up and then panicked and had to rush to get it done.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think like next year I want to time the time that I'm having off a bit better. So like obviously you'd have like a week off here or there or whatever. I don't know if I want to do it in June again because I feel like that's what puts me behind a lot of the time is like normally have a week or two off in June and like that's when I come back from that the editing pile just goes crazy and that's when that's when it sort of piles up. So maybe managing break. That more tactical breaks are probably better. I don't know, but yeah, I think you're right about having that sort of every time you book a wedding and being like, how am I going to edit this? When am I going to edit it? Sort of thing. I think you're doing well. Like you're smashing.
I think I've done okay. I've only got 2 left to edit now, and then 1 left to shoot. So then that one will go after Christmas. I'm confident I'll get the others done. So I've managed it at the end. But before I went on holiday, I was trying to smash out 1 edit a day. Yeah. Because I had to, and was kind of staying up late every night to get things done. I don't want to get to those points again, where I was literally like, I have to get this done. Like you're feeling a bit. I can't go to bed until I finish this one. Yeah. I'd like to kind of have it so that my editing pile never, as much as in an ideal world, never gets to a point where there's 12 on the pile and I have to fight that back over a short period. I'd like to kind of keep on top of it, so that it's kind of it only ever stays at a certain kind of size. So that you know that you've just got that many, and you're never gonna have more than that many. And I think because of that, the other one will go hand in hand is something else that come back from a holiday as well. Is I think that I've spent the couple of COVID years being really busy, and then this year kind of maintaining everything and plateauing where I am. I kind of felt like I've spent a lot of really, really hard work over the last 3 years on my business. But I have realised that this year that I am not getting any younger and that I should I've taken my health or taken my fitness particularly for granted over the years. Yeah. And because I've always kind of done what I can to stay fit and done this and that, I've always just gone, I could probably miss my run today because I can get some work done and try and make sure that I do prioritise some times for health and fitness amongst my work schedule or book that in the same way that I do book in appointments so that I don't miss it and keep myself in good health.
Yes, we've done an episode about this, I think, haven't we? But it's so important to look after yourself. And I've been like trying to do the same as well. So usually between the months of like October and December, I'm so busy editing that I'll be sat at home and I'll be like, should I go to the gym? No, I could probably smash out another highlight film.
It's dark as well, and it's cold to leave.
And so between October and December, I just don't go or maybe January even, I just don't go to the gym at all. And usually I have a very clear fluctuation in weight in the winter because I just stay at home and eat and edit, right? This year I'm just trying to get out of that, so I'm going at least once a week, and that's better than I did last year, which is better than like I know it's not, gym once a week is not going to do anything in particular, but
consistently over a period of time it will.
But at this point, like that's better than I was doing last year, so like looking after myself just a tiny bit more, and then next year hopefully I'll have even less in the edit pile and I'll be able to do even more.
That's what I kind of feel is that. Like this time of year, or once again, like we spoke at the start of the episode, once you kind of clear that editing pile and stuff, you've got that little period of reflection. Yeah. If you can build routines in that time that become sort of part of your daily or weekly routine, that when you do get busy, you start to, because that stuff's coming in again and intruding into your week, you fit that around what's stayed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where if, like before it was like, oh yeah, well I can move the gym because it's not set in stone to fit
exactly.
working.
Yeah.
Whereas like, no, the gym's not moving. Everything
That
else,
is
my edit
moves
time
around
has to
that.
build around that.
Yeah.
It just becomes something else that I have to do, not something which is just dispensable.
Yeah, definitely.
And can be moved.
I feel like that's definitely a mindset thing that
Yeah.
that can be improved. Similar to you though, I'm going to try and keep my editing queue down this year as well. Next year, it's this current right now. I'm at the longest wait time I've ever had since I started my business, and I can't put my finger on why. I think I've had quite a bit of time off this year for various like holidays and things like that, because it's just how things worked out. Wasn't planned. That's it. Could be that. We also had 10 weddings squeezed into July.
I think that's been your biggest thing this year. To shoot a third of your weddings within
in a month.
Is crazy. Yeah.
That was quite a big pile to get through before, because obviously like if you're editing one wedding, let's say it takes a full week to edit that wedding, and then the next week you're starting the next one, but that was the day after the one after. So like the queue isn't going down. It was still at a point
in the season, wasn't it? But you still had, although that doing those 10 was a huge chunk of your yearly quota done, you still had enough ahead of you. It wasn't if you had 10 then you were done for the year, and you had nothing but editing. There were still weddings to shoot, and because it was still pretty high summer by the time that you got through those 10.
That was like 3 weeks off in like between September and October, and it just like it was so. I think I can blame it on as many things as I want, but I know that it's like I obviously need to change things in the business. Like the shorter film thing is going to be a big thing. Like obviously not as many people are going to be booking my highest package anymore. Yeah. So I'm going to be editing shorter films. That's going to help. And then I think some sort of better time management. I've actually stopped doing my YouTube work now because because the whole I've said this on the pod before. I have a level of enjoyment, payment, and just like reward in general. Yeah. And that was just going down. I wasn't enjoying it as much, not getting paid much for it, and the whole I didn't really have a purpose for it anymore. Yeah. So I just thought, you know what, if I shave that off next year, I could have a better.
You feel more free
towards,
to have the balance. That's really good.
Yeah. Something I want to talk about as well, like probably one of the last things, is posting more frequently and more variety on Instagram. I feel like we spoke earlier this year, and we spoke about like having your set things that you post on Insta, and I feel like I've been too honed down on what I'm posting now. Okay. And I don't want to be that honed down.
Yeah, like to have some room in there to kind of be a bit more fluid with what you post.
Because I overthink so much now. I've made so many reels this year that have never made it to see the light of day.
Just like a shame.
Because I'm like, oh, is that really my brand? Am I going to be booking the right people? Is it going to get an engagement? And I'm just thinking far too much into it because you know, we speak about it, you listen to podcasts, and they're always like, oh, you know, you should only post like very specific things if it must be your top work and whatever. I feel like now we're moving towards a more fluid, it's more about how much you post and how many people you can get engaged.
Instagram's gone through some seismic changes this year.
Yeah.
Like the landscape for Instagram is completely different to where it was at the start of the year. So I think, sometimes it's just, and I know, like, I felt like my Instagram game was pretty good until October. I haven't posted
in a while.
In a while. Yeah. My stories that used to be probably daily or every other day now have got to the point where I'm just like, I'm not posting. And I need to break that slump and get back into it. Yeah. But then you feel that sometimes.
But is that because you're overthinking it as well? Because I know you do it as well. You very much.
I think so.
I've got that from you, but I think
from coming in the runs leading up to holiday, I was so busy that I didn't want to just post all the time about, almost not being negative, but kind of like sound like a broken record of how much I had to do. Yeah. Then obviously I wanted a break while I was away, and then now because I feel like I've come back with such a short window to Christmas, I'm like, I don't want to be on here just chatting about it. I want to be getting on doing stuff. Yeah. And so but then the longer you leave that, if it ends up being the new year now before I post again, it's so long that you build the fear up, don't you? Wherever you just get over yourself and say something and start, it'll be okay.
I feel like next year my aim is not to overthink it and just post, like, trust my gut, basically. Yeah. I'm an overthinker anyway. Like, every single decision I make, whether it's like, do I get a meal deal today, do I eat at lunch, I'll sit there for 10 minutes and I'll decide. It's like I could have gone out by now and got something. Like, exactly. So I'm an overthinker anyway, but I just think this year I've really overthought what I've been posting on Instagram, and next year I just want to be like, that's cool, I'm going to post that, post it, and then just
all the things that we've just said as well. Like, if you know in your heart of hearts that you are making good quality work, regardless of, over the whole year, the chances are that if you post something for as quick as it's on your feed and then scroll past again as well, it will, even if it's maybe not that 100% on brand or whatever, that the fact that you've posted it, you're still
you put stuff out,
giving yourself something. And I think one post is not going to completely turn you off to somebody unless it's pretty damn bad.
Yeah,
and the chances are that anything you've bothered to create or make or think is okay until you've hovered your finger over the post button.
Tell you what I might do.
It's probably
have you seen those Ray-Bans, the Meta ones?
Yeah, with the glass in them. Yeah.
How sick would they be for like a bit of BTS of just
holding
the camera?
There is a photographer in America who's using them, and he said they're really, really good.
Is it?
But they only have the problem is they have a record limit over a certain time, and that he says his only barrier.
It's a minute,
so far.
isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it's a minute every time you press the button.
He's been saying that they've been brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'd be
that'd
pretty cool.
Might be your gadget for
I'd wear them all day, and I'd forget to press the button. I'd be like, "What have I bought these for?" But that's the sort of thing I would buy, to be fair. But I bought the Pocket 3 partially to do that. But I think I might start putting a 360 camera on top of my camera and try and give that a go. And those sort of things, like BTS, maybe some phone videos. Like I just feel like a bit more, so I can interact with people who follow me a bit more. People follow me sometimes, and I'm like, I haven't posted in 2 weeks. That person just followed me. Maybe I should post again. And it's like, So I feel
again, you can overthink it forever, though, can't you? And go into that stuff, and before you know, you've not posted. And I'm 100%. That's definitely what I've done over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
And so that's I think just kind of just becoming at peace more with Instagram is probably the best.
Me and you have spoken, and we probably want to do an episode about it on bordering the line between sort of influencer and photographer.
Yeah, and I
feel like that's kind of the future if you want to be doing getting sort of being the best you can possibly be.
And I think we should probably get a guest in for that, which I think now is probably a good time to say as well. Is that when we go into next year, that will be something for the pod that will be new. That you'll still be getting a lot of me and Chris, don't worry, but we are going to start to have some episodes smattered in there where we will have guests.
We'll gradually have a few guests. People have requested it for a while. We wanted to make sure we did it in our own way.
And bring the right people in as well. And kind of people who are experts in the topics that we're discussing that week, so that they can wade in on it with a degree of knowledge that we don't have on those areas.
Exactly. We wanted to talk to interesting people who are not just making wedding film or doing wedding photos.
Or bring someone on just to tell you their life story.
Yeah.
For them to wade in on that.
But have some sort of expertise, or we think we admire them in a certain element of the business, and we can get them to talk about it for an episode. And I feel like, well, spoilers, we've already recorded it.
Yeah, it was recorded this morning. So you have to wait and see or maybe be a little more eagle-eyed on Instagram. After we've
to see who it is.
To see who it is,
But we're going to have a bit of a break now, so we won't be returning until the new year.
We've said, obviously, look, we both agreed that we listen to most of our podcasts whilst at our desks. So if you're not going to be at your desks, you're going to be eating too much turkey and having some time off and the rest of it. You don't need to find some time to dig into a podcast from us over Christmas. So this is
first Thursday of the new year, 4th of January.
Yeah. So. And that will be our next episode from this. Our 20th episode.
Oh yeah.
And also our first guest episode. So loads of reasons to tune in the other side of the year.
But until then, have a great Christmas.
Have a great Christmas. Finish up your edits. Don't worry about them if you don't. Thank you so much for being with us for the past 19 episodes and supporting the podcast this year.
Yes. Thanks for posting your Spotify Wrapped stuff.
And I'm going to post ours. I haven't posted it yet on the Instagram. We should get that on I will post that up shortly after this one goes out, so you can see, because I was really overwhelmed with the support or the amount that we appeared.
It made me so happy that people were appearing in people's top fives, and it tells us how many people we're in the top 5,
top 10, and actual top podcast.
And we were just like,
we made it to someone's top podcast. Well, quite a few people actually. Which
it was me,
we both find, and I think that last positive for this year has been starting this podcast. I know that I've really enjoyed it. I've learned loads more about videography, the industry, and the world, and thanks to you as well for having those chats and putting up with it all and along the way.
It's been a highlight of each month for me, just coming to record and just having a chat and talking the world to rights. So
amazing.
Really enjoyed
really good. So whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to, have an amazing time, and we will see you back with that next episode in January.
I love how we've ramped this up from the beginning of the episode to like this year's been, and to like it's been so good. It's actually been good. See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.